Hi, I'm back again with another sort of Tudor style recipe. A big bug just hit that window. As you can see, I'm in a slightly different location. I broke into my mother's. I came to my mother's house because the lighting's just a little bit better. So today I'm going to be making an Ember Tart. So I was looking through some historical cuisine websites. I found a great one called Medieval Cuisine. This is a 13th to 14th century recipe, so could possibly be served around the beginning of the Tudor period, sort of late 15th century, and I thought I'd give it a go because it sounded interesting. So Ember days are feasting and fast days within the religious calendar of medieval Catholicism. This recipe because I thought onions, eggs, herbs, it's quite seasonal for the end of summer, and because it highlights a particular aspect of Tudor life and diet that maybe we don't consider, that certain days within the week are fast days, so you don't eat meat, maybe you only eat fish, or in this case you eat another form of protein such as eggs. So we're going to have a go at that. I've got a pie case pre-baking in the oven because I'm not baking with wet pastry. My pastry is quite terrible. I've got a short crust pastry because it's I guess savoury. You'll learn whether or not this is a savoury dish based on some of the lovely ingredients contained within. There's a few surprises. So before we even start to talk about other ingredients, I guess it's sort of more like a quiche. There's a lot of eggs. Anyway, before we can even start and talk about anything else, first we need to make up a spice mix. So it's Ember Tart is a very highly spiced dish, and for some of us that will sound like a surprise. You know, we're always told that medieval people had all these very bland foods, or they only used spice to preserve things, or that they even started the Crusades just to get their hands on spice, which is it's a complete myth. So people did use some spices to preserve food, but this idea that people were, rubbing meats with all these spices because otherwise it's to conceal the taste of off meat because everything's really rotten because medieval people don't know how to store food or cook things properly. I mean, it's complete nonsense. People had spicy food because they liked the taste of spice. There's nothing suspicious about that. The idea that the medieval European world was entirely cut off from Asia or Africa is complete hornswoggle. It relies on this presupposition that people in medieval England or France or Germany were entirely unaware of the world around them, didn't travel, were completely uninterested, and also that people in countries like Morocco or Egypt or completely uninterested in the wider world, which is also complete nonsense. There were long-standing trade routes stretching far back into prehistory, and getting spice was expensive but very doable. Like, people did get spice. It was very common. This idea, it just holds up this idea that people 500 years ago lived in complete ignorance of the world, and only the modern world has seen an end to that. And if anyone tells you that, just don't listen to them. So to make this particular powdered spice, which is called powder duce, we're going to need quite a wide variety of ingredients, but they can really show how deep and ingrained sort of trade routes into Africa were. 50 grams worth of parboiled onions chopped, and then the mixer ready for the next stage. And if anyone ever suggests to me, "Hey Jess, do you want to boil and chop a pound of onions?" I will tell them no, because that was the most unpleasant experience. They were all slimy. I couldn't get a good grip with the knife. It was just a mess. Do not do this. I hope I never have to do another recipe where I have to boil and chop a pound of onions again. After making my powder duce, and I've pre-baked a pie crust, is, well, the first and most important ingredient in an onion and egg Ember Tart is the onion. So these are ones that I've grown myself. I need 450 grams worth of onion, parboiled and chopped into quarters, ready to start making a mixture with. A horrifying onion egg with mystery ingredient tart mixture. So get these scrub-a-dub up and put them in my mixer. So first spice for spice mix is ground cinnamon. Second ingredient is sugar, which again, people did have access to. Need some cloves. We need a lot of ginger. I said a lot of ginger. A lot of ginger. A lot of ginger. And a spice that I'd not heard about, grains of paradise. Apparently it's quite like pepper. It comes from, I think, Central Africa. So, I mean, if you need proof of any huge amount of trading, cultural interchange, knowledge of each other, the fact that this simple sort of Easter tart has like this amount of spice in it tells you something about how interconnected people were. So I'm going to grind this all up and let's see what happens. So I've done as much as I feel I'm able to. I'll carry on working on that, but you can see it's already gone this really lovely colour. And well, I'm not going to sniff it on camera because sniffing it makes me sneeze. There's something in those grains that's sort of triggering my nose to just sort of run, but it has very interesting smell. I'll say that. Interesting smell, but I guess a smell of history. This is, you know, it's a very fine, it's very expensive, lovely medieval spice mix that, from what I can gather, was put on almost anything. So let's see how it does in a quiche, I guess. Stage after making my pâle de duce and I've pre-baked pie crust is, well, the first and most important ingredient in an onion and egg Ember Tart is the onion. So these are ones that I've grown myself, and I need 450 grams worth of onion, parboiled and chopped into quarters, ready to start making a mixture with. A horrifying onion egg with mystery ingredient tart. That's 450 grams worth of parboiled onions chopped and in the mixer ready for the next stage. And if anyone ever suggests to me, hey Jess, do you want to boil and chop a pound of onions? I will tell them no, because that was the most unpleasant experience. They were all slimy. I couldn't get a good grip with the knife. It was just a mess. Do not do this. I hope I never have to do another recipe where I have to boil and chop a pound of onions again. So not content for this to be merely spicy, no, it is also herby. So we have a quarter of a bunch of parsley, which I imagine must have been relatively common. Well, anyway, grand houses, such as this tart would have been served at, because this is definitely not common food, would have had herb gardens, so, and dried ones as well, to keep throughout the year. There's no doubt some intense humoral theory value associated with parsley that makes it good and healthy to eat, other than just, you know, already being nice. Next ingredient is what makes me presume this is more of a summer or a spring recipe, because we have, oh god, please don't run over, 8 whole eggs. So, especially 500 years ago, most people don't, so 500 years ago, most people, chicken is quite rare, a rare dish to eat young. You mostly eat chicken once they've stopped producing eggs, because eggs is what you really want. And because of the natural cycle of the hen, eggs obviously only really come in spring and summer. They sort of taper off towards autumn and winter. So this is definitely more, I think, an Easter, Lenten type dish. When you can't eat meat, when other things are banned, then, you know, your lovely egg onion tart is going to be filling that protein gap for you. Next we have 2 tablespoons of butter. So the butter makes me think, oh come on, off you come. The butter makes me think post-spring, because, well, you can only get butter when you have cow's milk, and cow's milk only comes in, well, technically cows can calf all year round, but the big lot of milk you're going to be getting is in the spring. So to have some left over for this tart, it's definitely suggesting more of a summertime, when everything's had time to preserve. You know, you've managed to wean the calves off, you've got some milk left over, and it's all been nicely preserved and ready for some lovely little summertime baking. Half a teaspoon sugar, and we need about half a tablespoon worth of salt. So salt as well is an especially valuable spice. So you can make it in Britain. So we do have salt flat plans and salt marshes sort of in Norfolk, Chester, Lincolnshire area. But that sort of is more coarse brining salt. The best salt, at least for the medieval world, came all the way across the Sahara. So you get places like Timbuktu and Mali. I mean, that's really what their wealth is built on, is on the salt trade. And you have like these immense caravans of sort of tens and thousands of camels crossing the Sahara to bring salt to your medieval time. With that, our next recourse is to add a great big, whoa, please don't drop, great big dollop, come on focus, of the powder Duce. So we've already got a whole bunch of sugar in there, and we're just adding a load more with a load more spices. I'm going to add a little bit more. Let's get that nice and spicy. Now everything's sort of like ready and waiting to be mixed, we have the strange part of the recipe, which is 150 grams of currants. So my presumption being is that the currants in some way help balance the dish, because medieval and Tudor dishes are made to to aid you with balancing the four humours. So all health comes from the four humours in your body. Your body's made up of the four humours, and good health comes when they're all in equilibrium, in perfect balance. So to achieve that balance, you have to eat foods that correspond to your personal sort of humoral chart. So as a woman, I'm more cold and phlegmatic, so I need to balance that out. I need more hot, dry foods to sort of naturally counteract that balance. So my guess is that the currants are designed to make this a more wholesomely humoral meal. Not necessarily that they're there for flavour, but that they're there for health purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to see what happens when it mixes up. If it's a little bit gloopy, I'm going to add in some breadcrumbs that I prepared earlier, which are a wholemeal, so I guess more medieval style bread. I didn't save any of my Tudor manship bread, but it would have been good for this. So we're going to mix this together and see what happens. I just love egg, onion, and currants. I mean, it's my favourite food. Look at it go! Isn't that just so appealing? Obviously, as a lady of the house, I have the good old kitchen servant to do it. I can't imagine being a human being creating this meal by hand. So add in some breadcrumbs, I guess, to try and I guess they didn't have cornstarch, because I would use breadcrumbs are sort of there to sop it up a little bit, make it a bit more solid. I mean, as a modern chef, I'd use more of a cornstarch, a flour. Maybe not a flour, but yeah. So I've gone for a more brown bread than breaking breadcrumbs, because obviously they didn't have nice modern style white bread. They had a coarse, well, not coarse, but they had wheat bread, they had rye bread, they had oat bread. So definitely nothing that quite corresponds to your standard white loaf. There we go, let's see how that turns out. Interesting. Time to pour this very strange onion egg mix. Oh god. Oh no, that looks... Oh dear. Why? Why have I done this? Why have I created this? This looks awful. It's flooding everywhere. I better get this in the oven quick. Okay, moment of truth. Huh. So, I mean, looks nice. It doesn't look too bad, apart from all the raisins on top. It looks quite nice. It smells very savoury. Fucking hell. Woo. boy. Well, we need to give it 10 minutes to set, and we'll see what it tastes like. Oh, so here we have lovely Ember Tart, onion, egg, and currants.
Ember makes it sound so much nicer than it's probably going to be.
An Ember Day, it's a religious fast. So it's one of the fasting days when people weren't allowed to eat meat or like other nice things, so they had to make different food. Fasting food.
Oh, there's poor people. Don't do it at the same time.
Yeah. Oh,
Make sure to get some currants in there. Hold on.
3, 2.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh no! So I was fine. I had mostly egg, and then there was like a burst of raisin, and then all I could taste was cinnamon, and I'm like, oh!
Why would you do this to me?
I spent hours making this, and it's terrible.
Oh no. Where's the rose lemonade gone? Oh no! It's all gone. Oh no. There's nothing here. There's taste. Oh, there's nothing. There's nothing in the fridge to wash this down.
So, all I can taste is cinnamon raisin.
Hold on. Let's find something in this cupboard. There's got to be something. I'll take some soy sauce. I'll take some soy sauce on my tongue. I don't mind. This is really bad. This is really bad. Whoops.
Taste test wise, not a success.
The soy sauce is good though. That's not where it went. Oh.
But no.
No.
No, that was.
No.
I do not understand why humans would eat that, other than the fact that A, it's a religious holiday so they can't get other food, and B, some sort of doctor's prescription to eat a certain amount of spice and currants, because that doesn't work. It don't. Now I just have a giant onion egg fruit pie.
There's so much of it.
So much, and 8 eggs in it. So,
That's made me sad.
medieval policy of putting spice and fruit in everything, does not work in real life. That is, it's so bad. So, not a success, I'm afraid. But, thank you for watching me make a hideous medieval monstrosity. And maybe next month I'll make something much, much better.
You've sent my mouth to hell.